So welcome to Creators Thrift, our April Showers event. We're so excited for y'all to be here. Know that at any point in time, you are welcome to have your cameras on, have your cameras off, grab snacks, do what you need to do, really feel all of the agency to take care of your body needs. We're glad that you're here with us. I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna pass it on to my lovely collaborators to introduce themselves. Hola, Kiko, hello.
Thank you, Bibi. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. During a pandemic, that shit is really hard. So I'm Kiko. I have no pronouns. So instead of using the pronoun they, for example, you would just use my name instead, and that's how you can refer to me. I am a storyteller and a painter here in Chicago. I began thinking about what Creators Thrift would look like last year in the beginning of the pandemic, when I was having issues with theater, and one of the theaters I was having issues with closed down, and I kind of felt a little joyous and I didn't really care. And it's because I realized that I have never felt comfortable in institutional spaces, because a lot of the times they cater to white people and people of a certain class, while also fetishizing and taking advantage of people who don't meet that who don't meet that standard, right? I've always wanted to create a community that wanted to leave these institutions and who are already doing that, while also wanting to engage with sharing resources. I also am playing the role as an infographic designer here at Creators Thrift. And I also want to say thank you for everyone who filled out the application. We did see that a lot of the responses of why it is hard to create art at this moment is because of mental health issues. And I just want to say that we are beginning to create an event for that specific issue. And so the events that we have planned right now do not gear towards that, but later in the future we will. And so, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna pass it off to our badass Jessie.
Awesome. Thank you, Kiko. Thank you all for being here. Obviously, we really appreciate your time and your energy into all of this. But most of all, we hope that you can walk away with this with some sort of relief, sense of hope, and sense of adventure and excitement of what's to come in the future. My name is Jessie. My pronouns are she, hers. I joined Creators Thrift for two reasons. One, because Kiko and Bibi are just badasses, and they are just the most lovely people that I've ever met, and incredibly insightful artists that just really care about taking, the art community to the next level. And two, because I have been on that side of the road, like we all have been, where we're at a point where we want to create art and we have these visions of what we want it to look like, and either certain institutions or certain monetary statuses or whatever obstacles come our way don't let us that art flourish. And so we saw this as an opportunity to create a community, a network more than anything, that allows us to have that connection with one another through mutual aid. Because not everything is about a big name theater. Not everything is about big bucks productions. And not everything is about having unlimited amount of dollars to pay top-notch anything. A lot of it when it comes to art has to do with what comes from your heart, from your soul, where you are going to present to people, especially when you're an underrepresented artist, and how you want to see your art come through to your audiences. And my role here in Creators Thrift as a freedom artist advocate is just to allow artists to have those connections with other artists, whether it be that you need a ride from somebody, or somebody that has equipment, or somebody that's just gonna spot you a joint because you just need some stress relief. It's about just creating those connections with people and ultimately building a community that is dependent on just us, one another, and not what we feel or what we've been taught sometimes is the ultimate reach of either a theater or a name or a status, or some kind of production. Art is what you make of it. And so we hope that after, you know, a lot of conversations and ultimately creating these connections with one another, we have the opportunity to create the art that we've always wanted. And with that, I'm just gonna hand it off to the one and only BB.
Yay, thank you. I'm so grateful for these two awesome collaborators. It's been really grounding that through everything working together to get to this moment where we're talking to y'all is so exciting. It's really overwhelming. So I'm BB, my pronouns are they, them. I am going to be the messenger hawk for Creators Thrift. What's that you say? Well, it'll be a lot of connecting folks. So part of our network will be, part of what we're doing is we're sending out a survey to assess needs and what people are able to offer and what capacity they have. So once we have all of that, my job will be to introduce you to your fellow community members so that you can collaborate and make art and get what you need done together. So helping to facilitate that process. I'm going to share for you. So for today, our theme is April showers, where we want to have an introduction to ourselves, as well as a community check-in. So that's why we asked you in that RSVP, what has been something that's been holding you back. And we're going to listen right off the bat, as Kiko mentioned, and having an event that talks about our mental health, because that is absolutely a struggle, especially as many artists who are here in the room are on that hustle life, very multidisciplinary. We all have a million jobs. So what are ways that we can support each other as a community to dismantle those systems? Excited for that. So right now I'm actually going to share my screen with y'all because I have a presentation. I'm going to be talking a little bit about myself as well as a project that I self-produced while practicing mutual aid all the way. So let me just get my presentation up one moment. Right. Whoops. That's the end of the presentation. Oh my God, spoilers. Okay. This is a presentation I'm calling Chicago Theater Goddamn. See, what had happened was production style. So the reason why I got involved in Creators Thrift was through Kiko. And when Kiko came to me and asked me, I want to hold all of these theaters accountable. Like a lot of people are getting called out. It was like the height of the pandemic. And when Kiko said, holding theaters accountable, yes, that sounds great. Let's do it. And so through that work, I remember us getting to a point where we were like, maybe let's just build our own thing. And we were thinking instead of, because we're going to be holding theaters accountable in all these ways. But honestly, my question is, should they still be producing? Maybe it's done. Maybe we just call it quits. And so, but it's really hard to do that and say, fuck you to institutions if you don't have resources. We can't just say that this is a problem without having a solution. So what can we do to come together to have a solution? And so we have Creators Thrift, a mutual aid network. So I've been, again, so happy that Kiko came to me because it felt like such the right time because of where I was at my career. So I'm going to get into that. Oh wait, I guess I'll talk about that. So I have survived 6 years in arts administration. I worked at Goodman Theater for 2 seasons, and then I worked at Victory Gardens Theater for 2 years, like 2.5 seasons. And I was very tired. So very tired after doing that. And so as I was sort of processing what I had gone through in theater administration, and I was also, I'm also a playwright, a producer. I I do some comedy here and there. I've done some stand-up. I kind of like many of y'all in this room, dipping my toes into too many things because that's what they teach us, because you got to hustle if you're going to make a buck. And coming to this point where I had a frustration with theater, also wanted to do my own thing, and was really trying to produce my show. Because when I wrote this play, Chicago Theater, Goddamn, I had always said that if I write this correctly, no theater will want to produce it, because I wanted it to be that true. I wanted to really wake people up. And the title comes from Nina Simone's Mississippi Goddamn. And I wrote this work to really try to shake and break through the culture of silence that is so infected in the Chicago theater community. There's too much that happens that just gets swept under the rug or ignored, or we talk about it for 2 seconds and then, oh, but they're doing their one diverse show, so everyone go to it. I was very frustrated with this type of narrative. So I wanted to create a work that reflected that. So the production history of it, I had, there's this wonderful organization, Kelsey McGrath and Austin Dowling, Holla. They had a small organization called New Pages, and they did a reading for me, which was really awesome. A very small, it was really just the two of them doing amazing work on the North Side in Chicago. I also worked with a friend to do an event that was in his house. Andy Lynn just had a bunch of people over in his living room, called it Works in Progress reading. We just had food, there was mulled wine, it was just a living room table read, and it was really awesome. And then the last edition of this play was last summer. I co-produced it with Omar Khalil, who is amazing, and just at the beginning of 2020. So that's what I'm going to focus on for this presentation. So the first thing I did was say boy bye to theater institutions. I kind of went over this. Oh, and just to mention, speaking of Rihanna, there is a slide later in this presentation that is from her Bitch Better Have My Money video, where it's the shot at the end of the video where she is, there's lots of skin. She's basically naked in a treasure chest with dollars and blood covering over her. I'll let you all know when that image is coming up, but just so you know that will be in the presentation, because I have a lot of Black artists who are in here to represent my points. But anyway, so I was so frustrated. I had just left Victory Gardens Theater. I'm now no longer a theater arts administrator, and it feels so good. I'm working with libraries, badass. And I was just really tired of seeing time and time again all of these production practices, specifically of making art in a way that is so harmful. So as a playwright, I felt, and a producer, I felt a certain responsibility to really break through that, because I don't want that to be what my art is. I am a person who feels if a theater wants to produce my play, and I know that theater is going to abuse the people who are in the building, who are working on the set, to me, it's not worth it. I'd rather just not have my play produced if people are going to be harmed in the process, because what's the point? I just think we deserve an artistic community that's so much better than this. So that got me to thinking, I'm an amazing person. I know amazing people. These institutions aren't really, that's not what makes them magical. It's the art that gets made there that draws us to these places. Particularly when I was working at Victory Gardens Theater, there was such a disconnect between what was on stage and what was happening behind the stage. And what draws you is that there's these amazing performers, there's these stories, there's new works. But that's not the institution, is it? No, that's the art. So I was thinking, I'm an artist, I don't need them. I know all my friends. Let me just think of a creative way to do this myself. The previous readings that I'd done of this production weren't behind a big institution. They were behind people who just cared and wanted to get people together in art. And I felt like it was such a community, this piece was already community driven. And it made me think, oh, that's why I said that this should never be produced at a theater. It's because we can do it ourselves. So
shoes, $1,200. Glasses, that's $400. But bitch, my outfit, $20, bitch. Get yourself together, bitch. Know how to budget, ho.
And so we had to do some funding. I was very fortunate to have gotten a new job that paid me more than my artistic job. And so while I didn't have enough funds on my own to pay people outright, I took a look at my funds. I took a look at what I had, what I needed, and what I could afford to pay actors and readers to read the play for, just to do a reading of it that was online that people could come to. And so I had a payment schedule, or as I kind of jokingly say, I had actors on layaway. So what I did was I looked at my budget and I contacted people and had transparent communication is everything. So what I did was like, I can afford to pay everyone half of the stipend when they agreed and half of the stipend like the day of the performance. So it was about a 2-week difference so that I could use the money off of payday. So it was a lot easier to like make room for that. Cause I was like, oh, it's payday, I'm gonna pay other people. Which is always like, pay me on time. We have such a problem in our arts community about not paying artists on time. And I did not want to be a part of that cycle. So it was really important to me to have clear communication of like, I will pay you this much on this date. These are your rates for this amount of hours. And just being really conscious of what I was asking for and what I could give at the time. But in funding, I almost forgot who I was. So this to say there was, if y'all recall, Victory Gardens had just announced that Erica Daniels was going to be the executive artistic director. And a lot of folks in the community, there was backlash. They had protested outside of the doors. And as someone who worked there, I have lots of opinions about it, but we don't need to visit that here. But the point was I had seen the New Colony post on social media, a picture from the protest. And I had worked with them through the writer's room and hadn't heard anything back from them. So I actually kind of sent them an email one day with a very harsh email that said, does my Black voice matter to you? Because I felt that it was kind of hypocritical to call out one theater institution when you don't have it together at all. Because the secret is no theater has their shit together. So I kind of made a point. I sort of tapped them on the shoulder. They were like, the artistic directors, they were very like, like we want to work with you, like that's right, like we totally understand. We were engaging in this conversation, and they were originally, when I was going to have maybe a reading, but they like pretty much left me on red. There wasn't funds for the reading to happen, but because of the pandemic, they were able to find some room for it. And I was considering accepting funding from them because I wanted to pay my actors more. I felt like I didn't want to really produce this particular play at a theater, but I was also thinking, who am I to deny the people that I'm working with to get paid more? Maybe I should take this opportunity to receive funds from them. Then I had a phone call with my friend who works in development at theaters, who said, the thing about theaters, especially in development for funding, is that when they take your work, they get to control the narrative, which is something I'd kind of already experienced because I had the idea for this play already and then decided to do the writer's room just as an accountability. And like they were considering, also, as you can clearly tell, I don't care about names. I'll drop them all. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. It's my experience. So that's what it's going to be. They had originally, I was like, no, I don't want, like, why don't you like post about the reading and like share the network or something like that, like share it with your network. And they wanted to say, Chicago theater, goddamn, created from the writer's room. And I was like, and here I have my friend talking about, I'm like, you're trying to claim my idea. You're trying to say that this idea started here, when in fact, that's not the story at all. So when my friend collected me and said, do you really want to have a theater be able to take your work and put a narrative on it? And I said, no, I don't. And it reminded me that I could make a different choice because, yes, we all need to survive and we all want to make money, but I was already learning about my own capacity. And I had to remember we have an abundant community, a generous community, a loving community. And where I've seen that, maybe not necessarily in the arts all the time, but through all of these mutual aid practices that are happening during the pandemic. I'm like, there are people who want to give, there are people who want to connect, who want to support. Of course, those also include artists. So rather than trying to rely on institutions, why don't I reach out to my community? So I was really grateful for my friend to collect me so that I could refuse funding from a theater and make a different choice. It's really hard to do that a lot of the times. And that's why I was so excited about Creators Thrift, because my dream is to get out of the other side of this panorama to give every single person a choice, whether or not to work with an institution. Whether you work as an actor in the box office, in production, in design, art, whatever, like you don't have to engage in these theater systems in order to work within theater. You can make a choice. And that's something that's difficult to do, but something that I firmly believe that we can do together. Part of that is knowing what I have. So I had to look into myself. When you talk about mutual aid, you have to think about an assessment of your skills, of your knowledge, your networks, your talents, your careers. Where do you have access? What resources do you have? For me, it's things like my degrees were in public relations and advertising, and in, oh my God, what else did I study? Oh yeah, theater. LOL, because I never use it. And I have a focus in women's studies and gender studies. So something that I could offer people are like my communication skills. I also do a lot of event planning. I love a spreadsheet. I can do a budget. I will make an affirmation for you. I'll write a monologue for you. I will walk your dog. I'll babysit your cat. I will water your plants. I'm a plant daddy myself. I will water your plants, just thinking about all those things. And then it's being open and listening to each other's needs. So there's listing what you have to give people an option, because it's always nice to let people know what you have so they know what they can ask for, but also open it up so that people can ask for what they need. Like, actually, none of those things fit. What I kind of need as a babysitter or something. You know, what I need is someone to help me set up a GoFundMe because I've never done that before. I need help setting up a website. I haven't done that before. And just thinking about how can we give each other our skills. So type it or mic it. I would love, this is something that we asked for in the survey, but we would love to take a moment for y'all to share out with each other. So go ahead and type in the chat, name a resource that you have and or a resource that you need. And if you feel comfortable, feel free to hop on the mic and say that. And I will go ahead and read anything from the chat if anyone writes it. There's a resource that you have or a resource that you need.
Yeah, I can share the mic. First off, this is incredible. This is so incredible. This is like exactly what I've been envisioning and talking about for 3 years, but even more thought out. And like y'all have like made it even beyond my wildest dreams. This is awesome. Thank you so much. So I have experience in screenwriting. I got my MFA in screenwriting and playwriting, so I'm always happy to give script feedback to people, to give notes. I love brainstorming. I love thinking through plot and structure, and also down to provide food, joints, money if needed, care. I live in Rogers Park. I'm pretty much open to anything a human would need that I can provide. And myself, some things I've been thinking of. Would want to do more like performance stuff, and especially if that can help somebody out, if there are people who are looking for performers. I don't have that much experience in it, but it's just something that is both, I guess, like an offer and an ask. Yeah, so I will stop talking now. Thank you all.
On mute. Yes, thank you for sharing.
I can take the mic. I have experience in like editing as far as like for like writing, so like script as well, but like resumes. I've worked on like the other side of like what people might be looking for. I'm also like teaching for like sketch writing, solo work, and the performance. So like how to either be in a show or produce a show. Some needs that like I would like is like video editing, like just like how to do that. I don't know where to start. Well, I kind of know where to start, but you know, like someone who I learned a different way. So it would be nice to like pick someone's brain. And just like making things more visual. So yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I see something in the chat here. Jess says, I love punching things up, but I'm finding the right words, so I'm down to tackle whatever writing project. Yes, currently a UX design class, and I'm updating my website right now where you can learn more about me and my work. Awesome, go follow this person and check it out. Yes, keep thinking about things that you need and things that you might be able to give. Feel free to put this in the chat at any time.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was so late.
Wow.
Oh God. I'm an audio person, so I have knowledge on recording things, composing, mixing things. And then I also have equipment, depending on the week. I am the audio manager at the University of Chicago for Theater and Performance Studies. So depending on the needs of the students on any given week, I can usually finesse some sound equipment out of storage. So just naming those things. Thanks, sorry.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Here, I should look more at the gallery view. Does anyone else wanted to take the mic?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kirsten. Also, I can write plays and poems and essays and can help peer review those kind of things. And I have a guitar that I never use, so if someone needs it, I got it. I also know a little bit about making flyers and stuff like that on Canva, which is pretty easy, but it's like sometimes it can be complicated. And some other things. I also can teach and facilitate, and I act. So if people need me to read stuff, I can do that. And currently what I need right now is people who can read my stuff so that I can hear it back.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you for sharing. I also have from the chat. Let's see. I don't want to miss anyone. Molly to follow up can offer networking and planning. Em can offer web design and coding skills. If anyone needs a website, shout out to Em, who through mutual aid and Wonderful has created our Creators Thrift website. So highly recommend Em and their talents for web design. So just a shout out to them for that. And Em is can also photo edit, is good at proofreading essays, and is looking for someone who plays an instrument to collaborate with, because I like to sing. I love that. Dion can act and direct, draw cute things, also have a camera on some filming stuff. When it's not a panty, can give rides. Rachel Kennedy has experience with budgeting, contracts. Yes, another spreadsheet lover, making schedules, all the conflicts. Amazing. Jalen has an arts education facilitation experience, actor, poet as well. Can dog sit? I'm seeking film production, cinematography experience connections. Yes, keep sharing all of this. I don't want to take up too much time and read all of these, but this is wonderful. Keep getting creative. Yeah, equipment, pianos. I got you on the video editing stuff. Let's connect about that. I love that. So there's so many types of mutual aid, right? And part of it can be monetary. So as I was explaining sort of my budgeting, I really wanted to pay people equally. And so for all the actors who were involved, we did 15 hours per hour for 1 hour of rehearsal, which really ended up being just like a meeting for us to be like, okay, what's happening? Like a few days before the production, and then 2 hours for the performance time. We also had an incredible tech magician, Tracy Kunzika. Hello, you must follow them on YouTube, on Instagram. I will probably drop a lot of Instagram handles for y'all in the follow-up thank you email. Who had a $75 fee because we had asked them like, you know, what their rate usually is for the evening, plus paying $15 an hour for the labor to build the event. Through Twitch and through Streamlabs. So a big part of thinking about monetary mutual aid for me for this project was understanding the labor it takes to make things, right? So being able to pay for the time it took for Tracy to build it was something I wanted to do. Howsoever, I had to be a budget hoe yet again and clearly communicate that I would need to pay the fee for that 2 weeks after the event, or it might have been 3 weeks after, but giving a date, how much it was going to be per hour, and set up a form so that they could bill me appropriately. And then that amount would be paid to them after the event once I had the money for it so I could budget for it. Learn to budget hoe. So other ways that I used practice mutual aid to produce this reading, Kiko brought me to Tracy in so many ways, and because I was trying to figure out how do I have a reading that's not just on Zoom. And so to meet, Omar and I met with Tracy, we approached them with like, let's do a knowledge share, right? The thing about mutual aid to me that I feel like is how you make it intentional is that you're always recognizing that someone is giving something to you. I think a lot of the times in art, you know, it's like, oh, we're doing a film and everybody knows you don't pay actors because they're paid in an exposure, and oh, you know, like these are my friends, they'll just do stuff for free because everyone's broke and we want to do stuff. I'm like, okay, yes, but what that lacks for me is an intention to place value on what people are giving to you. Actors don't get paid like they are learning lines, they are coming to rehearsal, they're often doing their own hair and makeup and costume, and you're like, hey, don't pay them. Have some, sometimes you can't always have monetary ways to pay people. That's where we can be more creative. Something that has always stuck with me that a poet Lyra said is that we have to be more creative than power. So it's just unlocking that. Capitalism is not the only way that we can interact with each other. We have other skills that we can give to each other, and through mutual aid, that's what really unlocked it. So we were exploring how to have the reading on Twitch. So it was really cool. Like Tracy had set it up so that you had like, it was on Twitch through this program called Streamlabs, where we had the Zoom reading of like all of the actors up, and then they could also pull up a video that I had for the choreo poem and have the script on the side. Oh, I cannot recommend Tracy enough. It was fantastic. And so we had a knowledge share for that, and in exchange, I had a meeting to talk. I like went through like their Instagram, all this stuff, and gave them like tips on what I knew from my social media and like communications background. So that was the exchange that we had. Something else that Tracy had mentioned was to have a tip, collect tips at the reading. And I was like, duh, obviously, especially, you know, not collecting funds from another institution, asking for tips was essential to just pay actors more. And it was awesome. I was able to pay all the actors Omar and myself like $60 each. I don't know. Dee Dee, do you remember? Just from artist yeah, I was like, I don't remember. Based off of donations from people. So like I said, we have a generous community, a loving community, people who want to support. I swear, like, it was awesome to be able to pay people actually twice than what I had able to budget myself. Because why? I called on my community. It's so important that we rely on each other. Something else that we also did was sound engineering, knowledge share, again, sound engineering in exchange for communications background. And kind of like what I had said before, part of paying actors was like understanding the labor, right? So I made it very clear that we are doing an hour of talking together and this is just a reading. So you've no requirement to read the play beforehand because I am paying you for what? This 1 hour of rehearsal and these 2 hours of performance. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. And of course, I was now, point of privilege, I was working with actors who had done the reading before. So it was also fairly easy to do a cold reading and still have it go well because people were familiar with the script and the actors were talented as fuck. So that was like a really cool experience to have. So other ways that I have done some follow-up. So like Omar and I, we co-produced it, and we've been trying to like think about what we want to do for trying to envision what we're going to do next, and also how I might be able to like, at first I was focused a bit too much on like, how can I pay you for the work that you're doing? But what really developed was like, we have an intentional collaborative relationship where they created so much space to help and support me and my project and influenced it so it became ours, that I am also intentionally creating space to focus on their projects and how I can support them. And so meeting weekly. It's another way. It's like, hey, you created space for me so that I could do this awesome thing. I'm going to create space for you so that you can do your awesome thing, and just being intentional about it. So with all of these skills, or like art, like since I've gone through, you know, all of these theaters, I am fortunate to have met some amazing people, because theaters are the worst, but the people that I've met there have been ride or dies, have been people who supported me so much. And so facilitating and introducing people is something that I'm really passionate about. And since I have been working through mutual aid, I feel like my skills will be useful here to bring this to the Creators Thrift community. Even, for example, Tracy and I are collaborating on a song, and I asked them, hey, what do you need for our mutual aid exchange? What can I give you right now? And they said, I just need help building a website. I was like, I don't know how to do that, but I know an MB who does, and referred them to M yet again, and made that connection. And I was there, you know, for the knowledge share with Tracy and M to like be there and all that good stuff. And now we're like all best friends. Amazing. That's the kind of thing that I want to do for Creators Thrift. So what I learned from my process in producing and self-producing was that working in theater has taught me very unhealthy art creation practices and unhealthy ways to understand myself as an artist. Hashtag I'm not a machine. So I had like spent like 14 hours straight cranking out my draft for the reading. And I had burned a candle while I was writing. And it was so damning to look at that candle at the end of my writing session and be like, oh God, it's almost burnt down. Probably like I'm burnt out. It was too much of a metaphor. And so there's a lot of work that we're going to do in this community to unlearn those harmful practices and harmful ways to look at ourselves. So something else I saw in a lot of the surveys, like, I just think I have to succeed, or I have to keep producing, or I have to get clicks. Like, I want to break all that shit down. Working in theater also told me this false narrative that it's scarcity and you have to like just be desperate for anyone to produce your work, when no, we are abundant in resources. We just need to be organized about it. Consistently have brave conversations about capacity. The audacious like ambition of capitalism was such a suck. I was like, I'm gonna have all the choreo poems done with videos. I'm gonna do all this sound. And I was like, no, I literally only have time to write the script and have people read it. What? So having constant conversations with my team about what do we actually have capacity for, and cutting back until we had something that was manageable with what we all had the capacity to do. And then my ultimate lesson is that I have so much to give. I have so much to receive. And that's my ultimate wish for Creators Thrift. We all have so much to give to each other and so much to receive from one another. And it's gonna be awesome. That's it. That's my presentation. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for that, BB. That was thoroughly awesome.
So cool.
I think this is just exciting, you know. I love everything that we're seeing on the chat, needs, wants. It just goes to show that how much talent already we have within each other, you know, whether it's like direct connection or, you know, 3 degrees of separation, 6 degrees of separation. And it's like, it's an exciting time for you to be an artist and have this entire new renaissance of how you're going to create art and what mutual aid can do for your arts.
I also want to point to the audience and everyone who's here. Do you have any questions for BB? Do you have any questions about what mutual aid is, or any concerns?
And feel free to type your questions in the chat or grab the mic.
I just wanted to say that I'm really excited to see like this group pop up. I'm part of a BIPOC artist collective that I feel like has super similar goals. But I just think it's exciting to see, like, I think that now is a time when so many artists are thinking about labor and how unfair the labor practices of our industry are, and a lot of artists are thinking about like how we can support each other and how ubiquitous abuse by institutions is. And I think that I just really, every single time that I see people talking about it, I get excited. So yeah.
Yes, kind of like going off of that, I feel like it is so, like working with you. So I worked on the Chicago Theater Goddamn Reading, this past one, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely like, maybe like a little bit less than like the amount of money I've made for like working in a theater for like 5 months on a show, and like we did so much less, and that's just wild, especially when it comes to like obviously like non-equity stuff, but even like when you go equity, I feel like there's another set of problems usually. But like, yeah, I'm like, this isn't that hard. And then it also makes me go like, where's their money going? Like, I can't help but be like, what's going on?
Endowment that they sit on, it's literally just a pile of money.
And the idea of asking for donations like is so, especially like at the end or whatever, it's just like, this could be the thing. I don't know. So anyway, I'm really excited about, yeah, also just like alternative economies and like sharing other like talents and skills with each other that you might otherwise have to pay for. So here for it. Agree.
Yes, Elon, I think of Goodman Theater specifically for that one. You gonna tell me you gotta set that slides in, turns around, goes into the sky, but you can't pay me more than like $13.50 an hour? Okay. Anyway, end rant.
Another thing about these theaters and what I was touching on earlier, about like focusing on a certain class, right, is that in my experience, I'm working like maybe 40 hours a week already at like the local hot dog stand, right? And so um the expectation to have 5 months of like free nights, learning a script or just like having rehearsals or any of that is just not, a lot of people are not capable of that. And it comes to a point where it's like I choose stability or I choose what makes me happy.
I think another thing that maybe we want to hear from you is definitely like, what is your idea of mutual aid? BB talked about, their experience, creating Chicago theater, goddamn. And I think, there are so many ways that mutual aid can help us as artists, either to create art or just to breathe and, have some sense of stability as an artist. So what are, just some of the things that you think you consider mutual aid or that you would like to see as mutual aid? You can either hop on the mic or, type it in the chat. We want to know.
Jess asked, have you all thought about a directory already? Yes. That is one of the things that we're talking. So right now we're in a building phase. We have the 3 introductory events, and something that we want to encourage you all to do is to fill out our survey. It is a Chicago artist needs assessment, and in that we ask folks both what resources they'd like to give, what resources they need, and boundaries around having a, what do we say? It's commerce, not capitalism, having that type of relationship with people. Like, what do you need? What are your boundaries in terms of COVID, in terms of time, in terms of, advance notice, things like that. And then through that, we'll be able to create a directory of people and skills that they can offer that we can then start to facilitate those connections over the summer. And it'll be probably available. We're still thinking about, if it would be available on our website or something more private for members, but yes. Jesse, feel free to add or.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you covered it, baby, more than anything. I think what we want is just to start building this network, right? You tell somebody who's going to tell somebody who's going to tell somebody to fill out the survey, because ultimately we want to create this massive directory that can, be compartmentalized into, people that can provide tangible resources or people that, can provide, emotional support, those kind of things. And eventually have this directory that you can, look at, oh, I need somebody who's a video editor, be able to find, 10 within that directory and so on and so forth. So eventually we want this to be a big, big community, but we definitely want to spread the word and get people involved, because the more people that are in this community, in this network, it's, the more help that and then better mutual aid that we'll be able to provide for one another. So like Bibi had said, commerce, not capitalism.
To answer Molly's question, thank you for asking. We right now we're focused on doing a monthly event, and we have May and June, May flowers and June bloom. Lily B, that's our featured artist. Congrats, you're the first to know. Lily B will be a guest artist speaking about an experience as well as like helping someone who needed a job and how mutual aid was navigated through that. And then in June, we will be having Tracy Kansika, artist that was mentioned so many times and is fabulous. We're going to be talking about moving with ability. Like Bibi said, it's all about talking about what your capacity is, right? And so after that, we do want to focus on like what people had said in the survey, what more people will see in the survey is mental health, though we do want to get to a point where we have recurring artists and be able to share, though right now we're kind of just focusing on what community needs and what was said in the survey.
So I would say definitely list that need in the survey, and that's something that we could like rally the community about. Because even if it's not something that, like, let's say that like the Creators Thrift, which right now, like as admins are, you know, me, I was supposed to say Bibi, me, Kiko, and Jesse, if maybe we might not have the capacity to have a show where people can share that work. However, community members of Creators Thrift can work together and make that happen. So it's all about just finding the other people who are in our network who want to do the same thing, putting it together and making magic happen. It's like, I'm every artist, it's all in me. It's like that. I do want to note that it is 8:02, so it's the top of the hour. We anticipate the meeting going on an hour long. My presentation did go on a little longer, so if you than anticipated, so feel free to hop off if you need to. But Kiko and Jesse, are you two okay to stick around if people still have questions?
Of course.
Great.
This is awesome. And I've just been kind of trying to think about other mutual aid like things. I know one organization I'm working with is kind of doing something similar for like trans youth and stuff like that. It's kind of being like, okay, what can people, especially like cis people, like provide, you know, like what resources do you have to like give back and things like that. So I feel like that is really beautiful. I think yeah, just like this like idea of like us sort of like connecting with each other and seeing like who in our community can like help us out with this like specific either thing that we're trying to build or whatever. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I guess I don't really have I'm curious, like, so I know we're going to be like meeting, you said like eventually we'll have like a directory. Is the goal to sort of like eventually like, are you putting us in the room and then like having us figure out like what like little projects and things like we want to like work on together kind of thing, and like the meetings are kind of like a check-in as to like first, like, you know, getting people's needs and like seeing what's needed, and y'all are gonna hold some like events around that. And then is that kind of the format? Like, put me in the future.
Here, let me put on my Garnet glasses real quick. So my first question, and please Kiko and Jesse, like feel free to like jump in, correct as needed. I know what I'm envisioning, or what we've talked about is both like, you know, a directory, us having events that tend to community needs, a regular assessment, right? So where the survey will go out like quarterly. Is that what we said? Quarterly? Yes. So that we can keep refreshing, like we have new resources and new needs, so keeping on top of that. But also like my role as messenger hawk is kind of going to be like, I don't know, like artistic OkCupid or artistic Tinder. Like it would be really like looking at needs, kind of like, you know, with Tracy and M, for example. Tracy's like, I need help building a website. Great. I'm going to look in the directory. Our community member over here can help you with that. And then facilitate that introduction and like relationship. So part of like what we will also need to do in the future is like talk about community like agreements and establishing like we have to build trust, right? And get to know each other in like certain ways so that we can do work together. So So yes, and I think it's also like going to be connecting like individuals together or groups of people who have similar interests and helping to like facilitate different communities. Jesse. Oh, bye, Rachel.
I would say bye to Rachel.
So that sounds
yeah.
y'all?
No, definitely. I think that, our ultimate goal is just to, connect artists together. I mean, I think BB said it perfectly. We are we're trying to be, the OK Cupid of artists. If we see that you have this need and we have somebody that can facilitate that need for you, why not? If you want to create, you have stuff down, you have written down for your, web series, but you need somebody who has camera equipment and audio equipment. Well, we want to be able to go into our network, right? And say, we have, these people that have audio equipment and these people that have video equipment, and your skills are, creating websites. Can there be a connection between, audio person A and video person A, between you and them, and saying, I can create websites for both of your businesses if you can provide these services for me in my web series. Ultimately, having that commerce interaction with us. Not everything has to be about, dollar signs, which that very well can be, because ultimately that's how we pay in this capitalist society, right? But, in our artist utopia, we want to be able to create art without having to spend so much money, being able to use our resources and having that community commerce of, I can provide this, you can provide that. Let's make dope shit together.
Yes. I'm seeing it. I'm picturing it all. Very clear, very thorough answer. Thank you so much.
Great. So this was an awesome start to our meeting, and we're so excited to meet you all. Please feel free to Kiko, could you drop our email in the chat? If you, although y'all should have gotten an RSVP from the Creators Thrift Gmail, if you have any further questions, suggestions, ideas, concerns, let us know. Feedback is extremely important to us, so just let us know. We're going to keep improving. Any last thoughts from Jesse, Kiko? Other than eternal gratitude.
Yeah.
Eternal gratitude to all of you.
Okay. Yeah, I want to say thank you to everyone who came. I also want to say to keep a lookout for, like I said, Lily B, our upcoming events, and remember to fill out the surveys. And if you have any other questions, I'll put the email down below in the chat.
Yay. Thank y'all. Have beautiful evenings. Bye.